Hi students, welcome to Easy Elimu Learning Simplified. My name is Mbithe, and in today's class, we're going to be looking at tenses, specifically the simple present tense. We are going to see what is that first of all, what is the simple present tense, when is it used, how is it used, and how do the verbs change when we are talking about this tense. So before we begin, it's important to define what tense is or what we mean when we say tense. And it is simply, when we are talking about tense, it is how we talk about time in English. Now, at the bottom of your screen, you can see a straight line. I'm going to use that line to illustrate what I mean when I say time. So right now, we are in the middle, we are in the present. And then at the far left of that line is the past. And at the other end is the future. So when I say time, I mean the present, the past, and the future. So we use tenses to clarify what we are talking about. Are we talking about the past? Are we talking about the present? Or are we talking about the future? In this class, we are only focusing on the simple present tense. So we are talking about now. So before we go further, we can have a look at some sentences that are in the simple present tense, just to have a rough idea about what this simple present tense is all about. I read a book every day. Take note of the verbs that are in bold. I read a book every day. You go to school every day. She works in Nairobi. They live in Namibia. I hope you have taken note of those verbs, and we are going to see how they change over time throughout this lesson. So there are different instances where we use the simple present tense. One of the instances is when we are talking about things that are permanent. They may not be permanent forever, but they are permanent for now. For example, he works at the bank. So right now, he works at the bank. So we use the simple present tense. I live in Nairobi. So right now, I live in Nairobi. And lastly, he wakes up when the sun rises. He wakes up when the sun rises. So when you're talking about things that are permanent, they may not be permanent forever, but they are permanent. We also use the simple present tense when we are talking about routines. A routine is something that you do regularly. So let's say if every day you wake up at 6 a.m., you go to school at 8 a.m., you go back home at 6 p.m., do your homework, shower, then sleep. That is your routine. So if you say, I go to the market every Saturday, so you know that every Saturday you have to go to the market. That is your routine. So you use the simple present tense to say that. I wake up before sunrise. I eat an apple after every meal. That is your routine. We also use the simple present tense when we are talking about facts. A fact is something that is true and cannot be changed. For example, we all know that the sun rises in the east and it sets in the west. That is a fact and it cannot change. So we use the present tense to convey such information. The sun rises in the east. Rises shows us that that sentence is in the simple present tense. The sun sets in the west. Sets is in the simple present tense. We also use the simple present tense when we are talking about schedules, and a schedule is how something is supposed to happen, how something is supposed to take place. For example, the train leaves at noon. So no matter what circumstance, as long as it is noon, the train will leave, so that it is scheduled to leave at noon. The plane lands at midnight, so it is expected to land at midnight. That is a schedule. We know this at this point, this will happen. That is the schedule. So we use the simple present tense when you're talking about various schedules. For example, you can even say, I shower at 10 p.m. It is your schedule to shower at 10 p.m. Lastly, we also use the simple present tense when we are talking about frequency or something that happens frequently. For example, when you say, I always take the bus, the word always there shows us that this is something that you do many times. I always take the bus. Maybe you take the bus every day, morning and evening, or every day just the morning. Always shows us that this is something that happens frequently. I never run late. It shows us that you are always on time. She takes the bus sometimes. She takes the bus sometimes. So maybe she does not take the bus every day, but once in a while she takes the bus. So those are some situations or some instances where we use the simple present tense. I hope you have understood. Let us now proceed to see when we are using this tense. It is the verb that is guiding us. Remember, we said verbs are used to show us the tense, the mood, or the aspect. So it is the changes in spelling for the base form of the verb that determine the tense. So let us look at now, how do these verbs change from their base form when we are talking about the simple present tense. So for most verbs, you just add s to the base form of the verb. For most of the verbs, not all of them, but a good number. So for example, the verb work. So you say, I work, you work, we work, they work. However, when you're talking about he, she, or it, that is where this change occurs, because you can't say he work, she work, it work. No, you add an s, so he works, she works, it works. So that is where the change is happening. When you're talking about he, she, or it, for most verbs, you're just going to add s. He eats, she showers. So you only just add an s to the base form of the verb. For the verbs that end in an s, sh, ch, or x, we add an es to the base form of the verb. So for example, you say, she teaches, he washes. So just the verb as it is, then you add es. He relaxes, it relaxes. There are some verbs that end in the letter Y, and just before the letter Y is a consonant. So verbs that end with a Y but are preceded by a consonant, we drop the Y and then we add I, E, S. For example, the word try. So you'll say, I try, we try, you try. When it comes to he or she or it, he tries, she tries, it tries. So you drop the Y because it is preceded by a consonant. You drop the Y and then you add I, E, S to form tries. So that's it for the simple present tense. I hope you have understood and you're able to construct sentences in the simple present tense, and to also take note of some of the spelling changes that happen. So for further practice, there's a quiz there. You can have a look at it just to see how if you've understood. So you're required to fill those blanks with the correct form of the verb in the brackets. So for example, that star dash brighter than all others. So can you say that star shine? No. So that star shines brighter than all others. Thank you for tuning in, and see you in the next session where we'll be learning about the simple past tense.